Hi, today we will use database stored procedure connector to call the stored procedure from Mulesoft. So let's create a stored procedure in MySQL. So we don't have any procedure created in flight database. Let's say we want to call a stored procedure to create a booking. So we have to create a flight booking. Let's say we will provide all the necessary information to create the booking. We have ID, PNR, flight number, departure date, all this information. Let's say we want to provide all this information to the stored procedure to create the booking. So this create booking, it's like function which takes these necessary input as a input parameter. PNR, flight number, departure date, origin and destination. This information we have to provide in order to create a booking. So we are going to create a procedure for this purpose. So we have all the information to create a booking. So let's refresh and see how many records we have. We have 29 records. So we are going to use a create booking stored procedure to create a booking. So let's replace the input parameter with the actual values that we are going to provide. So PNR number, flight number, departure date, origin and destination. So we are going to create a flight booking with this information. So we will be able to create one more record when we execute this procedure. And also after executing this procedure, we will get an output. So we will get the booking ID. So booking ID is a primary key and auto-generated key it is. So let's start creating the procedure to create a booking. Let's use the flight database. Procedure name is create booking. We have list of input parameters to create a booking. So let's take PNR as input parameter, which is of type varchar. So we have 5 input parameters and also a booking ID as output parameter. So let's add other input parameters as well. So we are taking these inputs and inserting a record into the booking table. So let's add other variables as well. So PNR, flight number, departure date, origin and destination. We are going to take these input parameters to create a booking. And we also have a output parameter. So booking ID is output parameter. Booking ID which is of type integer. So we are going to create a procedure called as create booking, which is taking 5 input parameters and also it's providing a booking ID as output. So let's start creating a procedure. We have multiple SQL statements here in this procedure. So first is we are going to take input parameters and also inserting a record into the booking table. So let's add insert query, insert into booking. We are going to take values from the input parameters. PNR, flight number, departure date, origin and destination. These are the values that we are reading from input parameters. So we are inserting a record and then we are running a select query to get the booking ID. So ID is a auto-generated primary key. So we are going to fetch that ID and providing that as a output field. So we have PNR as reference parameter in the query and also as input. So let's rename it to PNR value. So we are going to select the ID and providing it as output parameter. So let's execute the query, use the flight database, and we'll create the procedure. So execute the query and refresh and see if we have the procedure created as. So let's call the procedure, and as soon as we call the procedure we can see the updated count. So we got a new record inserted. So let's see if we can see the new record in the table. Yes, so we can see the record where the booking ID is 30. So let's select the output parameter and see if we are getting the booking ID. Yes, so new record is inserted, and also we are getting the booking ID, which is an output parameter. So let's try to add one more record and refresh. The ID is 31. Yes. So after executing the procedure, we are getting booking ID as output. So we have multiple SQL statements. We have insert and also select in the procedure. So if you see any error executing multiple SQL statements separated by semicolon, you can temporarily set delimiter to different symbol, and later you can set it back to semicolon. So you can, if you see any error because of the semicolon where we are separating multiple SQL statements, you can set delimiter temporarily. So we created a stored procedure and executed the procedure and got the booking ID as output. So we inserted a record and got the ID as output. So let's try to call the stored procedure by using a database connector. Let's search for the database connector and add the stored procedure DB connector. Let's drag and drop the connector to the flow. Let's add it to the configuration file. Yes, we have the connector added. So we have the store procedure to be executed. So to execute the stored procedure, we have to connect to MySQL server. So let's add the basic configuration. JDBC driver, add it as a Maven dependency. Okay, looks like we have not selected MySQL connection. Select the connection, add the MySQL connector dependency. So we have the JDBC driver added as a Maven dependency and provide the basic connection information: user, password, and also the database. We are going to connect to flight database. So we are done with the basic settings, and we have the query section where we can call the procedure. So let's copy the procedure. So we are going to create a booking and also get the booking ID by running this stored procedure, by executing this stored procedure. So let's provide the input parameter. We have to provide PNR, flight number, departure date, origin, and also destination. Let's read these as input parameters. So all these are input parameters. So let's add the necessary input parameters. Let's add input parameters PNR. We can read it from attributes, variables, or from payload as well, but for now let's hard code it to some value. We have to provide PNR, flight number. You'll have to use colon and the name of the variable in order to read the value from input parameters. Departure date, origin, and destination. So these are the input parameters that we are going to use to create a booking. So we have in and output parameters where we can provide the details related to input and output parameters, but for now let's use the input parameter section where we can provide the list of input parameters which we are going to use in the query or the procedure. So we have a section where we can add the output parameter. So let's add booking ID, which is an output. So after executing the stored procedure, we get a booking ID as output. So this is an output parameter. We have the query ready. So we have the list of input parameters and also output parameters. So you can use in-out parameters also, where you can define both input and output parameters. So we have list of input parameters. We are giving them explicitly. So we can give them as payload as well. So let's provide all these values as input payload. So we are going to execute this stored procedure by providing a input payload. So this payload will have all the information that we need to call the stored procedure. So these are the input parameters: origin and destination. So we are providing the input request body with all the information that we need to create a booking. So this input request body will be used as input payload to the stored procedure. Let's add origin and destination. So this is the input that will be used as an input parameter to the query. So we are going to read the information necessary to create a booking from the input payload. So let's complete the flow. Let's build the output payload where we'll provide the complete Mule message, and we'll start the execution of the flow by adding the listener. We will listen to localhost 8081. Let's deploy the application. We are going to listen to HTTP request, and from the request we get a request body where we will have all the information necessary to create a booking. So that will be an input to the stored procedure. So let's rename the connector. We are using this stored procedure connector to create a booking. We are calling a procedure where we are creating a booking, and also after creating a booking we will provide booking ID as output. So we have both input and output parameters defined. So we should be able to create a booking, and after creating booking we should be able to get the booking ID as output. So after executing the query, we will be able to get the payload with all the information. So let's execute the API. We are getting a payload where we can see the updated count and also the booking ID. So we can refresh and see we have the new booking added, and also we can see the booking ID. So booking ID is 32. Let's insert one more record. Yes, we can see the updated count and also the booking ID as output. So this way we can create a stored procedure, and we can use the DB connector to call the stored procedure from Mulesoft. That's it about the stored procedure DB connector. Thank you.